So today we're going to talk about Daniel 12. There's a little bit of noise behind me. I hope it doesn't get picked up on the microphone. So I'm going to read it in the Apostles' Bible, which is from the Septuagint. Chapter 12, verse 1. And at that time, Michael, the great prince, shall stand up, that stands over the children of your people. And there shall be a time of tribulation, such tribulation as has not been from the time that there was a nation on the earth until that time. At that time your people shall be delivered, every one that is written in the book. And many of them that sleep in the dust of the earth shall awake, some to everlasting life, and some to reproach and everlasting shame. And the wise shall shine as the brightness of the firmament, and some of the many righteous as the stars forever and ever. And you, Daniel, close the words and seal the book to the time of the end, until many are taught and knowledge is increased. And I, Daniel, saw and beheld, and behold, two others stood, on one side of the bank of the river, and the other on the other side of the bank of the river. And one said to the man clothed in linen, who was over the water of the river, when will the end of the wonders which you have mentioned? When will be the end of the wonders which you have mentioned? And I heard the man clothed in linen, who was over the water of the river, and he lifted up his right hand and his left hand to heaven, and swore by him that lives forever, that it should be for a time, times, and a half a time. And half a time, when the dispersion is ended, they shall know all these things. And I heard, but I understood not. And I said, O Lord, what will be the end of these things? And he said, Go, Daniel, for the words are closed and sealed up to the time of the end. Many must be tested and thoroughly whitened, and tried with fire and sanctified. But the transgressors shall transgress, and none of the transgressors shall understand, but the wise shall understand. And from the time of the removal of the perpetual sacrifice, when the abomination of desolation shall be set up, there shall be 1,290 days. Blessed is he that waits and comes to the 1,335 days. But you go your way and rest, for there are yet days and seasons to the fulfillment of the end, and you shall stand in your inheritance at the end of the days. So one subscriber asked me if I would address Daniel 12. And I suspect, although she didn't say why, I suspect it had to do with its relationship to Revelation in the end times and how it's used in that way. One thing I want to do, though, is mention that things that are mentioned here are not necessarily the things that are mentioned there. Okay? Now, probably I'm going to have a lot of people screaming at me over that, because I love connecting everything. There's a 7 here. That means this 7 over here, they're the same thing just because they're both 7s. It doesn't work that way. It does not work that way. No matter how much you want it to work that way, it doesn't work that way. There's a book here and there's a book here. Oh, it must be the same book. No. It does not have to be the same book. All right, so let's have a look at this a little closer. We're going to look at it very closely. First off, understand that what it's saying is that there is information that's been locked up. It's not accessible to us. So don't go trying to dig out and pry apart and paste things together to come up with some answers, because that is the wrong approach. That's not what it's here for. That's not what it's saying. The main thrust of this is the increase of knowledge towards the end, but towards righteousness and purification. And we'll see that. So remember that Daniel's people are the Jews. Okay? So when it says, and at that time Michael, the great prince, shall stand up, that stands over the children of your people, It's over the Jews. And there shall be a time of tribulation, such tribulation simply means troubles. There shall be a time of troubles. Well, there are always times of troubles. But this one's special. It says such troubles as has not been from the time that there was a nation on the earth until that time. Does that mean all nations are done away with? Or does that mean from the time that a nation was initially established on the earth until that time? See, that's what it means. At that time, your people shall be delivered. Your people shall be delivered. Everyone that is written in the book. So now we see that there's a book that everyone's name is written in. So Daniel's people, are those the Jews still? Or are they the believing Jews? The ones who are Jews at heart. See, the ones who do righteousness. The ones whose names are written in the book. So what is this book? It doesn't say what this book is, but it implies that everyone knows what it is. There's an interesting thing here. If you look closely at the text, and many of them that sleep in the dust of the earth shall awake. It doesn't say all. It says many. So what does that mean? Many. So not all will be resurrected and judged? Some to everlasting life and some to reproach and everlasting shame. Notice also that there is reproach with everlasting shame. And that it's everlasting specifically. And the wise shall shine as the brightness of the firmament, and some of the many righteous as the stars forever and ever. Notice some is not in the original text. That's in italics, which means it was inserted in English. So if you read it without it, and the wise shall shine as the brightness of the firmament, and of the many righteous as the stars forever and ever. It's not some. It's saying that there are many righteous who will shine as stars, that there are many who are righteous, and they will shine as stars forever and ever. That's what it's saying when you don't include the some. So, again, the translators, even of this one, couldn't perceive that in their language skills. Number 4, verse 4. And you, Daniel, well, let's not pass over that so quickly, right? Notice that this is following right on the heels of the judgment. That the wise shall shine as the brightness of the firmament, and of the many righteous as the stars forever and ever. So the emphasis is on wisdom and righteousness. Wisdom and righteousness. What it's saying is that some to everlasting life, those are the wise and the righteous. Those are the wise and the righteous. And you, Daniel, close the words and seal the book to the time of the end, until many are taught and knowledge is increased. So, the words of the book are sealed until the time of the end. And that until that time, many are going to be taught and knowledge is going to increase. That puts the emphasis on teaching and knowledge. And I, Daniel, saw, and behold, 2 others stood on one side of the bank of the river, and the other on the other side of the bank of the river. And one said to the man clothed in linen, who was over the water of the river, when will be the end of the wonders which you have mentioned? And I heard the man clothed in linen, who was over the water of the river, and he lifted up his right hand and his left hand to heaven, and swore by him that lives forever. So he swore by him that lives forever that it should be for time, times, and half a time. When the dispersion is ended, they shall know all these things. So the mystery, of course, is what is this time, times, and half a time? The word under there is actually kairos, which means season or occasion. So this will be for an occasion, occasions, and half an occasion, which makes no sense. It doesn't give us any sort of timing. But people will look at it and try to figure it out and say that it's like, 3.5 years or something like this. They think a time is a year. Okay, a time is a year. But it doesn't say that. It doesn't give us that. Kairos is simply a period of time. It's indefinite. It's ambiguous. It can be any length of time. These are only in relationship to each other. If the first one is the unit, then the next one is more than one of the units, and the last one is half a unit. That's all that we know. When the dispersion is ended, then they shall know all these things. What dispersion? We had two main dispersions of the Jews. Two main dispersions of the Jews. One of them just ended after World War II, when Israel was created as a nation. The other one ended when they returned from Babylon. Those are the two main dispersions. You could also argue that there was another dispersion from which they were rescued out of Egypt. But in fact, that is when the people group of the Hebrews were created, rescuing them out of Egypt. And yet a lot of them had descended from Abraham. So let's keep looking at this. And I heard, but I understood not. I'm sorry, I didn't finish on dispersions. If the dispersion was the one from Babylon, after that's ended, they shall know all these things. Well, that's one thing. But if it's talking about after the dispersion is ended in 1948, then they shall know all these things. That's completely different. And we don't know which one it is. We have to be humble and admit our ignorance. Instead, you have teachers out there who are proclaiming to know all the little tits and tats and all the little keys and everything, and they're proving themselves to be fools. Verse 8. And I heard, but I understood not. You see, Daniel, who was super wise and super intelligent, he was super humble. And he admitted that he did not understand. And I heard, but I understood not. And I said, O Lord, what will be the end of these things? Did the Lord give him the answer? And he said, Go, Daniel, go. Stop asking me. Go. For the words are closed and sealed up to the end of the time, to the time of the end. They're sealed. Go. So, here's the problem, is that these teachers that are out there teaching on this topic, they're making it into a competition of some sort, where they think they can apply the scientific method or something to this, when this is the Word of God, this written in the testimony of God, of the Bible. And he's frustrating the wisdom of the wise, right? They're trying to use worldly wisdom to wring out of the Word of God, out of the Scriptures, this secret. And doing so, they are making themselves fools. They're utterly making themselves fools. Because they're saying one thing, and then 6 months later they say, oh, no, it wasn't that, it was this. And then a year later, oh no, it wasn't that. It was this. I'm sorry, I was wrong. They're doing exactly like the scientists do with science and truth. This is worldly truth, is based on the planets rather than the stars. The planets in the ancient culture, they called them planets because planet means wander. In Greek, it means wander. It's a wandering star. It's not predictable like the other stars. They don't stay in the same position relative to all the other stars. The planets are always moving around in the background of the stars. And so you couldn't chart a course home with those. They were unreliable and you'd become lost forever. You could only chart your course home by the stars. And so they are being like planets. The scientists and these false teachers who are trying to wring these secrets out of the scriptures, the testimony of God, and then calling it the word of God. It's not the word of God. It's not. It's the foolishness of man. Trying to get the secrets of God, like break into his house and rob it from him. That's what they're doing. They're not getting it from God. And when they say, oh, God told me this or God revealed this to me, it's not. It's from another spirit, unclean spirit, who's deceiving them. You can see all the videos about all the false prophets. I've already identified 9 of them so far, plus all the additional teachings that teach about false prophets in general and some of the stories about them where God even allowed a deceiving spirit to go and put a deception into the mouths of 400 prophets all at once. And they saw that each one of them was saying the same thing, and therefore it must be from God. Whereas Micah was standing off saying the opposite. And he was actually speaking the truth from God, whereas the other 400 were speaking from a deceiving spirit. And all these false prophets out there, they're doing exactly the same thing. They're saying, oh, see, she had a dream just like mine, and he and he and he and she. We've had so many of us have had the same dream. That means it must be from God. Oh, the time is coming. Jesus is coming back. He's not coming back right now. And you can't tell me when he's going to come back. He might come back any day, but you don't know. So stop lying to people. Let's get back into this, okay? And he said, God said, go, Daniel, for the words are closed and sealed up to the time of the end. And this is probably the most important verse here in this chapter. Verse 10, many must be tested and thoroughly whitened and tried with fire and sanctified. It's very important. Very, very important to pay attention to this. He says, go, for the words are closed and sealed up to the time of the end. Many must be tested. That means during this time to the end. Many must be tested and thoroughly whitened. Thoroughly, completely whitened. And tried with fire. The fire is going to try and burn up the stuff that is not holy. And tried with fire and sanctified. That fire is going to sanctify you. But the transgressors shall transgress. The lawbreakers shall break the law, continue to. And none of the transgressors shall understand. None of them will understand. We're talking about these prophets who are pretending to understand but don't understand. They don't understand the actual message of God. Is concealed from them because they're transgressors. They're breaking the law of God. And none of the transgressors shall understand, but the wise shall understand. What does it say about wisdom? Job 28:28. Job 28:28. Let's have a look at that. So here we are, Job 28:28. And he said to man, this is Yahweh, behold, godliness is wisdom, and to abstain from evil is understanding. Let's look at this word godliness, okay? Godliness is wisdom. All right. But he said to man, behold, this is the word. They say devoutness. Let's dig into it a little bit. It comes from 2 words. One is God, theos, and the other one is sebomai, which is to revere, to fear out of reverence. So this is godly fear, to fear God. To fear God. It says, behold, to fear God is wisdom, or fear of God. Behold, fear of God is wisdom, and to abstain from evil is understanding. Because if you fear God, you fear what he can do to your body and your soul, and you abstain from evil. And that's when understanding comes. Understanding comes when you abstain from evil. And that happens when you fear God, because that wisdom comes in. The wisdom helps you to make that choice to abstain from evil when you're faced with that choice. And out of that comes understanding. True understanding. So now let's go back to Daniel. Okay. Behold, fear of God is wisdom, and to abstain from evil is understanding. And none of the transgressors shall understand, because they do not abstain from evil. Job 28:28, they do not abstain from evil, but the wise shall understand, because they fear God. The fear of God is wisdom, and to abstain from evil is understanding. The wise, those who fear God, shall understand, shall abstain from evil. So, the scriptures testify the same thing throughout. They say it in different ways, but it's the same thing repeatedly throughout. So if you want to memorize a verse, it's one of the most important verses in the Bible, Job 28:28. All right. So, what does this mean then? Well, he's saying many must be tested and thoroughly whitened and tried with fire and sanctified, purified and sanctified through a testing of fire that burns off whatever is not of God, what is not holy. But the transgressors, the ones who are criminals, who break the law of God, shall break the law of God. And none of the ones who break the law of God shall understand. Why? Because they don't fear God. If they feared God, they wouldn't break the law of God. And they wouldn't be putting themselves under law. They'd be under grace, because they're obeying God. You're under grace because you obey God. If you disobey God, you're under law. You have a choice. Make that choice. But the wise shall understand. The ones who fear God shall abstain from evil. And when they're tested, then they will be tried and they will be purified and sanctified. Verse 11. And from the time of the removal of the perpetual sacrifice, when the abomination of desolation shall be set up, there shall be 1,290 days. Now you can't allegorize that and say it's 1,290 weeks, or years, or because, with the Lord, a day is like 1,000 years and 1,000 years is like a day. You can't go play those games with this, because this is very precise. And while they will play that game with the times and half a time, they'll say it represents weeks or it represents years, it represents whatever period of time they want, arbitrarily. They can't do that with this, and they don't do that with this. So either you do it with both or you don't do it with either one of them. You have to be consistent. But definitely you must take things literally to begin with. So what is the perpetual sacrifice? Well, the only one that I know of that is really a perpetual sacrifice is Christ. Now, that's if you look at it as a once for all time. It's a sacrifice that was made which is perpetual. That would be a perpetual sacrifice. You could look at it the other way around. It's a sacrifice that has to be perpetually made over and over again. Well, if that's removed and the abomination of desolation is set up, then that means that there is no sacrifice at all there. In such a way that it's an abomination to God. It's been done in such a way where you can't sacrifice there. And that happened with the second temple, where they brought in a golden eagle and put it in there as an idol. And they desecrated the temple with pig's blood. So in that sense, in BC, this is in BC, that the abomination of desolation already happened. But you have to understand that things that are prophetic happen multiple times in history. And you'll see echoes of it, where a certain percentage of it is fulfilled. Another one where a certain percentage is fulfilled. Maybe more, maybe less. But they're like Jesus said, birth pangs, right? Until you get to the one that is actually fulfilling it to the T, exactly. And I think that the Lord allowed that so that many people would look at it and say, well, see, that prophecy wasn't true. It wasn't accurate because look, I mean, there's this, and this. So the Bible isn't true. God's testimony isn't true, and God's not true. And so they use their own heart to convince their mind that God's not true and his testimony is not true. And then they'll look at the prophecies and do it with that. So all of this placing of prophecies under the microscope and trying to connect this piece and this piece and this piece to events in recent events, right? And also to the near future and predicting specific times or just saying, well, I think it's going to be this time. This is extremely destructive. This is the work of the devil. This is not the work of God. This is undermining the faith of people. It's not building them up and strengthening them. It's playing tricks on them to give them hope in something and then taking that away and giving them hope in the next thing, taking that away and doing this perpetually. These people are wicked. They are absolutely wicked, no matter how beautiful they look, no matter how nice they sound. They are wicked people, wicked men and wicked women, and you should not listen to them. The scripture is not about trying to figure out prophecy and how it relates to specific events. For what purpose? What is the advantage? So you can have control over God? So you can have control over the events? You have no control over the events, even if you know it. So that you can, what? Get ready? You better be ready anyway. Actually, he's going to come when the Father tells him to come. And he doesn't know when that is. You know, these things are going to happen when they are supposed to happen, when they're told to happen. So there's nothing you can do about it. But listen and do what the scripture tells you to do. It doesn't tell you to figure out these events. It says to watch, to know the seasons as they come, that period of time when it comes, to know it. But you cannot figure out exact events and exact things, so stop it. And stop trying to give others the impression that you can. So let's keep going here. That perpetual sacrifice, by the way, if it were referring to Christ, how would it be done away with? How would his sacrifice be removed? It can't. So if that perpetual sacrifice is Christ, that cannot be taken away. Hebrews proves that, the book of Hebrews. It's a sacrifice has been made once forever, and it's in heaven, protected by God. So this perpetual sacrifice must refer to the other one we were talking about, which is the repeated sacrifice, the necessity of having sacrifice done perpetually. Okay? Let's keep going here, though. Verse 12, blessed is he that waits. Hear that? Blessed is he that waits and comes to the 1,335 days. But you, Daniel, go your way and rest, for there are yet days and seasons to the fulfillment of the end, and you shall stand in your inheritance at the end of the days. Did Daniel need to know? He wanted to know, but did he need to know? God told him, no, you don't need to know. Go your way. There's still plenty of seasons and days and times to the fulfillment of the end. You shall stand in your inheritance at the end of the days. Don't worry about your inheritance. It will be there. You will stand in it. Why? Because Daniel already achieved his righteousness. that was absolutely proven. You can see that in the book of Daniel. And so he will receive his inheritance at the end of the days because he held on to the faith to the end. And this is where he's saying, God is saying, go your way and rest, meaning go to the grave. Go to where you're going to rest until, while you sleep, until you're called, and you will stand in the inheritance at the end of the days. That's what this is all about. It's really saying the opposite of what people are using it for. It's not to figure out and tinker with everything. It's actually telling you to rest, to wait, and you will be in the inheritance at the end of the days, that you must hold fast to the faith and become righteous as Daniel was. Yeah, of course you want to know, right? You want to know, but you must obey God. You must allow that to be what it is. And as you have wisdom and as he wants to reveal this to you, you will understand what you need to know. It says the wise shall understand. Shall understand what? It says, many must be tested and thoroughly whitened and tried with fire and sanctified, but the transgressors shall transgress, and none of the transgressors shall understand, but the wise shall understand. They will understand why they are being tried with fire, why they are being sanctified and whitened and tested, for what purpose. They're not going to understand what's written in the book. That's sealed up. That's sealed up. So what will they understand then? They'll understand that their purpose in life here is to be righteous and holy, doing the will of the Father, so that they can rest until the fulfillment of the end and stand in their inheritance at the end of the days. Because they won't stand in their inheritance if they do not pass those tests with the fire. But that testing is to test something that's already been put there. The fire doesn't make you holy. The fire doesn't make you sanctified. The fire sanctifies in the sense of burning off what's not holy. But that has to be there. So you have to obey and you have to stop sinning. You have to do that and keep in that. And in that, obey the Lord, listening to him every day, meeting with the Father, listening to him every day. Do what his will is for you in particular. So you're not one of those Christians that Jesus prophesies about in Matthew 7, who he will say, I will say to them, away from me, you workers of lawlessness, transgressors, you workers of lawlessness, transgressors, I never ever knew you. The ones calling him Lord, Lord. They were Christians who were transgressors. If you think you're a Christian and you can't transgress in a way that God will hold you accountable and guilty for it, you are in deep deception. Because this proves it. Transgressors. Jesus' prophecy, transgressors. The transgressors shall transgress. Those who transgress are transgressors. Doesn't matter what you call yourself. But the wise shall understand. And remember, wisdom, the fear of God is wisdom, and to abstain from evil is understanding. Job 28:28. May the Lord bless you as you seek him with all your heart.
Remember to subscribe down below and like the video and share it on your Facebook and other social media. And then make a comment, whether a question or a comment. We read all of them, and we try to respond to all. Head on over to our website, The Rooted Word, and start reading the translation and also the articles we've posted. It's at therootedword.com, therootedword.com. And may the Lord bless you as you seek him with all your heart.